My friends, you're going to die. I don't know when, obviously, neither do you, but from the moment you were born, the clock started ticking. And here's the crazy part: most of us spend our lives building a future where someday we'll finally have time to live. But what if this is the time? Welcome to Take Two with Freddy. Real conversations about second chances, real life, and the power of rewriting your story. I'm Freddy Freundlich, entrepreneur, mentor, storyteller. And as I always say, if I didn't walk it, I don't talk it. Today, I want to talk about something we all have, and somehow none of us seem to have enough of it, which is time. Not time management. There are already thousands of books, seminars, podcasts, and all the gurus all promising to squeeze another 15, 20 minutes out of every day. That's not what interests me. What interests me is time itself. Because time may be the most valuable thing we possess, yet we often treat it as though there's an endless supply. And maybe the greatest illusion we ever believe is that our real life begins later. After this project, after this promotion, after we make enough money, after the children grow up, after. But what happens if after never arrives? A few months ago, I came across an idea that really gave me pause. I don't know if you're aware, if you live to be around 80 years old, you'll have roughly 4,000 weeks. At first, that sounded like a big number. And then I stopped a moment and I started thinking about it. Now, there are only 52 weeks in a year. So suddenly 4,000 didn't feel very big anymore. Because you see, my friends, everything has to fit in those weeks. We have to grow up and go to school. Then we have to deal with our first job. Hopefully we'll fall in love. Then chances are we'll fall out of love. Then there's marriage, maybe divorce, maybe finding love again. We might have children, careers. We have our successes and our failures, our dreams, our disappointments. In other words, your entire life. All inside roughly 4,000 weeks. And no matter how successful you become, there's no savings account for unused time. You can't say, you know what? I was too busy to enjoy last Thursday. Can I have it back? No, it's gone. It's gone forever. Now, when you're young, you do understand this intellectually, but you really don't feel it. When you're 25, a year feels like forever. At 65, I can tell you, a year disappears in what feels like a blink. I have 5 children, and I can still picture them when they were little. I can remember birthday parties and school concerts and family vacations, all of what would be referred to as the ordinary moments. Then somehow, without asking my permission, they all became adults. And some of them have children of their very own. How did this happen? There wasn't one morning when I woke up and someone announced, "Hey, Freddie, your kids have grown up." It happened very quietly, one ordinary day at a time, one ordinary week, one birthday at a time. And I think that's exactly how life works. Quietly. The clock never makes an announcement. It never says, "Hey, attention, Freddie, you've just spent another year." It just keeps moving. And the truth is, none of us actually know how many weeks we have. 4,000 is only an average. None of us have an expiration date stamped at the bottom of our foot. It could be another 50 years or it could be tomorrow. The only thing we know for certain is that every second we spend is one we'll never get back. One question occurred to me while I was thinking about all of this. Have people always thought about time the way we do? And I'm not sure they have. A few hundred years ago, life wasn't measured the way ours is today. For most people, the day began when the sun came up. You worked, you planted, you harvested, you took care of your family, and when darkness came, the day was over. Life moved back then with the rhythm of nature. Now, obviously, I'm simplifying history, but I think there's an important distinction to be made here. Back then, people lived by seasons. Today, we live by schedules. Today, our lives are measured almost entirely by the clock. We start, we get up in the morning at a certain time. Then we have perhaps a meeting at 9, a Zoom at 10:30. We go to lunch at 1. We have a conference call at 2. We got to pick up someone at 5:30. And then we have dinner at 7. And heaven help the person who's 7 minutes late. We've surrounded ourselves with clocks. They're on our wrists, in our phones, on our computers, in our cars. My gosh, even my oven knows what time it is. And here's the irony. We've never had more ways of knowing the time, yet somehow none of us seem to have enough of it. Years ago, there was an economist named John Maynard Keynes. He made a fascinating prediction. He believed advances in technology would eventually reduce the average work week to about 15 hours. Think about it, 15 hours. Now, in many ways, he was absolutely right. Technology has become extraordinary. Machines perform work that once required hundreds of people. Computers finish in seconds what once took weeks. And today, artificial intelligence is doing things that just a few years ago sounded like science fiction. I can sit in my office and have a meeting with people on 3 different continents. I carry more information in my pocket than all the greatest libraries throughout history combined. Technology has given us remarkable gifts. So here's my question. Where did all that extra time go? Because from where I sit, we're busier than ever. Technology may have saved us time, but we simply filled it. And then we filled it again. And then we filled it some more until something very strange happened. Being busy became something we're proud of. Ask almost anyone how they're doing. I'm busy. I'm crazy busy. I'm slammed. We almost wear our busyness like a medal, as though being overwhelmed somehow proves we're important or successful or needed. And it makes me wonder, what exactly are we busy doing? Now, I know the answers most of you would give. We're building our careers, we're building our businesses or financial security. We're building a better future for us and our family. Now, guys, please don't misunderstand me. I'm a businessman. I believe in ambition and building companies and creating value. And I certainly believe in making money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with success. The question is, success for what? Because many of us are quietly making a deal with ourselves. We tell ourselves, I'll work hard now, and later I'll enjoy life. I'll build the business now, then I'll slow down later. I'll make enough money, and then I'll travel. How about I just need to finish this project, and then I'll spend more time with the people I love? Sound familiar? The problem is there's always another project, opportunity, problem to solve. So we just keep saying, I'll just get through this one problem. I'll just close this one deal. I just need to get through this month. I'll just. And before we realize it, years have passed. Guys, I have to confess something to you. There was a large part of my life when I honestly believed that my life would begin after I just got through the next challenge. If I could just finish building this business, then life would slow down. Then I'd finally have time to enjoy it. Looking back now, I realize I'd been telling myself that story for years, maybe decades. But yet, every time I reached one milestone, another one appeared. I reached a challenge, another one appeared. An opportunity, another one appeared. There was always another mountain. And one day, what did happen is a rock figuratively fell on my head. And it hit me that I wasn't postponing a vacation. I wasn't postponing retirement. What I was postponing my life. That realization changed me because I finally began to understand something which I wish someone had told me 30 years earlier. The future is a wonderful place to plan for, but it's really a terrible place to live. And that's when something else began to change. Not my circumstances, and certainly not overnight, but me. I stopped asking, when will life finally begin? And I started asking, how do I fully live life today? That doesn't mean I stopped being ambitious. Far from it. I still love building businesses and creating. I still have goals and dreams, many things I want to accomplish. So many bigger adventures I'm dreaming about. But something fundamentally changed. I stopped believing that happiness was waiting for me on the other side of the next achievement. Guys, I want to share something with you that may surprise you. As many of you know, I'm 65 years old, and today I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. Now, I say that often, but I want to be very clear about what I mean. I'm not saying my life is perfect, far from it. I still have challenges and pressures and problems, and as I often joke, I have mosquito bites. Sometimes they're small, and sometimes they're rather large mosquitoes. Believe me, life still happens to me, just like it happens for you and everyone else. But here's the difference. Years ago, I believed happiness was waiting for me somewhere in the future. Today, I don't. And that has changed everything. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not telling you that my earlier years weren't wonderful. They were. I've had an incredible life so far. I've built businesses, I've made money, I've succeeded, but yet I've also lost money and I've also failed. I've been divorced and was blessed to fall in love again. I've raised 5 amazing children. And as anyone who's been listening to this podcast for any length of times knows that I've had more than my fair share of second chances. I wouldn't trade my life for anyone else's. Not because it's been necessarily easy, but because it's mine. You see, every success, every mistake, every heartbreak, all these lessons made me the man talking to you today. And that's what I'm truly grateful for, even the painful parts. And I have to say, maybe especially the painful parts, because somewhere along the way, something quietly changed inside me. I stopped living in yesterday. I stopped living in tomorrow. I started living today. I want to just clarify, it's not that yesterday doesn't matter. Yesterday taught me lessons I'll carry for the rest of my life. And tomorrow matters too. I still have my dreams and goals and plans. There are still plenty of stages I want to stand on and books I want to write. There are people I want to help and businesses I want to build. God willing, I'm nowhere near finished. here's where I finally realized I don't live in tomorrow. I live today. And if today is a good day, then today is literally the best day of my life. Now, tomorrow may even become better, and I certainly hope it does. But tomorrow isn't here yet. And guys, it may never happen, but today is. I think one of the biggest traps we fall into is treating today like a bridge. Monday is simply the bridge to Friday. This month is a bridge to a vacation. This year is the bridge to retirement. This project is the bridge to success. Everything seems to be leading somewhere else. But what if we end up spending our entire life crossing bridges and never arriving? That thought stayed with me because I realized I'd spent years believing the destination was where life happened. It isn't. Life happens today when you're crossing the bridge. Life happens when you're building the business, while you're raising your children, while you're laughing about something or struggling about something else, when you're worrying, when you're drinking your morning coffee. In other words, all the ordinary moments. These ordinary moments aren't interruptions, they are your life. Guys, I know people with enormous wealth who still believe happiness is waiting for them after they hit the next $1 million. I know people who retired only to become busier than they were when they worked because being busy wasn't their schedule, it had become their identity. I wonder if we're all a little bit like those hamsters who run on that treadmill type of things. They're running hard and they're running fast, and I feel like that's what we are. And we're always convincing ourselves that if we'll just run a little further, a little faster, then we'll finally get to where our life will begin. But like the hamster, the wheel never ends, and neither does the running unless we make a conscious decision to step off. Not by quitting our jobs, not by selling everything we own and moving to a beach somewhere. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much simpler. I'm talking about choosing to be fully present while we're living the life we already have. And that's the lesson that, my friends, I'm still learning. And honestly, I think I'll spend the rest of my life learning it. As I was preparing this episode, I found myself asking the question: if someone were standing at the very end of their life, what would they wish they had done differently? Now, I've never heard anyone say, I'd wish I'd spent more time answering emails or going to another meeting, or if I only had done that one more business trip. What we hear instead is a totally different picture. People saying, I wish I'd spent more time with the people I love. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And I wish I'd worried less. I wish I'd enjoyed the journey more. Isn't this interesting? At the end of our life, our priorities suddenly become crystal clear. And if you don't believe me, take the time to visit a hospice where people know their lives are coming to an end. The crazy thing is, most of those people tend to be happier and more positive than the vast majority of us. So here's my question: why do we wait until the end to see so clearly? Why not start right now? You know, I've had enough birthdays to realize something. Life isn't measured only in years, it's measured in moments. That conversation you almost rushed through, the friend you just decided to call, watching your child or your grandchild, or for that matter, a child just laughing, holding your spouse's hand, sitting quietly with a cup of coffee before the day begins. How about just watching the sun set? These are moments that they rarely make the headlines of our lives. But somehow They become memories we treasure most. When I was younger, I thought it was those extraordinary moments what gave life meaning. Today, I think it's the ordinary moments. The ordinary moments that are experienced fully, that's what makes life extraordinary. Not because every day is exciting, it isn't. And neither is every day easy. But every ordinary day is one of our 4,000 weeks. And once it's gone forever. So, where does all this leave us? I don't think the answer is to become less ambitious. I do believe we should all continue to dream and build and create. And if we want to take those risks and start that company, we should do it. We should write the book, run the marathon, and travel the world. All this stuff we need to do if we want to. But please, folks, don't make the mistake I made for so many years. Don't believe your life begins after you've accomplished them. Because if you do, you'll spend your entire life chasing them, being on the bridge, and you'll never get to them. Because tomorrows of the world have a way of just slipping away. You know, one of the blessings of getting older is perspective. When I was 30, I thought I had all the time in the world. At 65, I know better. And strangely, that doesn't make life sad. It actually makes life precious. Because when you realize your time is limited, you stop treating it like it's unlimited. You become a little more patient, a little more grateful, a little quicker to think, perhaps a little quicker to forgive. You become a little less interested in proving you're right. And you find yourself a little more interested in being present. Maybe that's one of the gifts that time itself gives us. Not more days, but a deeper appreciation of the ones we have. So, my friends, let me leave you with one final thought. This morning, when you woke up, you didn't wake up into a dress rehearsal. You woke up into the real thing, your life. Today wasn't handed to you as a bridge to something else. It wasn't just simply another page to tear off your calendar. Today, if you accept it as such, is your gift. It may be an ordinary gift, but it's still a gift. So don't wait for tomorrow to start living. Don't wait until you have whatever it is you're waiting for, the money, or life becomes easier. Don't wait until life is perfect, because I've got news for you. Life has never been perfect. Mine hasn't, and yours won't be either. And that's okay, because perfection was never the goal. Living is the goal. Your life isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future. It's been waiting for your attention all along. So next time someone asks how you're doing, instead of automatically saying you're busy, maybe smile, take a breath, and remember you're alive. You have today, and today is enough. And with that, I want to thank you for spending part of your day with me. And if today's conversation made you stop and think, I'd love if you'd share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because maybe, just maybe, the greatest gift we can give another person isn't more time. It's reminding them not to waste the time they already have. Until next time, I'm Freddy. And remember, if I didn't walk it, I don't talk it. Take care.